go with it in the future.
Guys,
I mean,
there's two parts important for GameStop. Look, when we're looking at the business model of McDonald's, the most money from McDonald's does not come from their fucking hamburgers. It comes from the real estate they own. GameStop has some real estate, but most of them are only in shopping malls, so that's the problem. But the biggest step why GameStop is not in the top selling leagues right now is because they simply have not made the fucking step online. They are not online. They're fucking stationary.
Here we go.
I can agree
No
with that.
one goes stationary.
I can say with 100% confidence they're moving to an e-commerce model. Just look at their new CTO, Matt Francis, who used to work in AWS. His
there's
LinkedIn
absolutely
is
no reason to believe that they would do anything with their the entire market is moving towards online commerce, and understanding that is if they make any gigantic moves, announcements, or whatever into physical stuff, they're done.
Okay.
Like they're just riding it out. They're kind of like GM still making internal combustion engine vehicles, etc.
Look at Gen Z. Look at like the younger people. They're so nostalgic about vintage shit. They've been
not enough
stuck
of a market.
at home. They have no social life. When
not
this
enough
stuff
of
is
a market.
Don't cut her off, motherfucker.
You can go someplace and be social because they're all gonna be fucking computer nerds. They can't do anything else. But they're gonna need to get out. Like they could maybe capitalize on that shift.
So
again, I would just like
to your point,
like ask yourself, where can you buy a PC game right now? If you want to go to a store right now, where can you buy a PC?
Micro Center
gaming PC.
Yeah, Micro
Center.
Micro Center or Fry's Electronics, and that's about it.
Walmart entire market.
Right.
Like,
Here's
the thing,
though.
I've got a point to the
Fry's is gonna fucking crumble.
Guys, if you look at it closely, the entire gaming market is moving more towards cloud gaming with Stadia and xCloud and so on and so forth. It's not there yet, but that is something that developers themselves prefer. And
Stadia
it's a unique and as well as a
cloud gaming
That's
won't happen until
Have any of you guys actually tried that? It's not good at all. It is atrocious. It feels like you're
we are a long ways away from being able to do that because communicative data does not pass fast enough.
Thank you.
Yeah,
you're right. Not enough fiber in the United States for the kind of market.
No, guys.
I said, what he said was that we're moving towards it. You know, you guys have to understand that earlier electrical vehicles were all shit. But it doesn't mean that there eventually isn't a market for electrical vehicles. I think the guy's spot on. We are slowly moving towards those.
I will make an argument about that.
Commented that Stadia is going out of business. It isn't. Stadia is stopping developing its own game, but it's still
that you guys are not talking about is the only.
Okay, here's the reason why Stadia.
What I'm saying now, it's not there yet.
I have a technical explanation to why Stadia won't work.
It's moving
the ceiling is not able to be achieved with any kind of cloud gaming as long as there are internet data caps or any kind of bandwidth cap that we're currently experiencing. That's why cloud gaming is not a thing, because there's other hands in play to make that possible, that make that impossible to happen.
No, but in the future, when big companies have the sort of leverage to start lobbying to increase those caps and to lower the sort of fucking MS that we experience with the gaming, this is a long-term thing. Cloud gaming could be big. Could be.
It definitely is. That's exactly what I'm saying. If GameStop was to come out there and say that, okay, we're going to put a lot of focus on our e-commerce platform, but at the same time, we will also actively research into cloud gaming platform that may or may not be a thing in the future, which I personally think it will be when all the other underlying issues are resolved. That's when you know that GameStop is definitely going towards the right direction.
It's a possibility.
Because without a company actually at least actively being involved in the research and development of low latency gaming on a cloud environment, I mean, what do you do?
Here's the thing: is I think
don't see the infrastructure being put in place.
Well, here's the
not right now, but the thing is that
even
they
in
have
20
to start
years. Look, if you look at Texas and Google Fiber, right? They actually ran into a lot of municipal problems trying to install the fiber. It became such a headache that Google killed its program.
Well,
like that's what you're looking at. I mean, 20 years we're holding on to GameStop stock. Like, let's get real.
I'm going to save you guys a bunch of brain power on this. Because
if your biggest problem at the moment is your internet bandwidth, that is not a big problem. If there's one thing that's going to get better over the next 5 years, it's your bandwidth and your
it's not even the bandwidth that's the problem. The problem is, and hear me out, it's the fucking fact that like if you are gaming off of a streaming service there, then for the game data to go to your system and then get sent to your from whatever actions you're taking in game.
Yeah, but
it is going to be latent to a fucking computer, so it's not going to be as fast. So if you are in competitive gaming, like you're going to be at a fucking disadvantage the entire time. That is the reason why it's a dead end. For me, at least.
It's a dead end for competitive gaming.
It is good for casual gaming, but it will
high graphic processing games.
Okay.
Can I interject something from an IT?
That's kind of like a Bloomberg tournament.
Sure. Excuse me. You guys are talking about things that are.
Yeah, go ahead. From IT perspective.
Mike is very.
Yeah, whoever's trying to talk, your mic's super quiet. No, the other person.
Okay.
It's not like yeah.
So from an IT perspective on this, when you're talking about latency for gaming, it's a low latency packet transfer. Like there's not a lot of data that goes across the network for that. I mean, at the very worst, you're talking about a node that you're going to be connected to that's going to increase the latency for the connection to the network.
Who's hitting shit on their desk?
Yeah, seriously.
With that being said, though, like we're talking about something where you're doing essentially like an RDP into a component that's in the cloud, and we're currently doing that with the current infrastructure when it comes to gaming. So like the low latency expectation that we have, like Google went the wrong way about it. Like you still need a physical node that you're connecting to. So if you can imagine like the new Xbox, if they went to a streaming platform where they're leveraging like the graphics power and all that sort of stuff, that's great. Like you can do that in the cloud way more efficient and better than constantly iterating hardware component. But if we have a node like a NUC or something like that, where we're connecting our controllers with low latency, that data transfer, even when you're talking like caps, is not very high. Like it's very low.
The key thing to note is the edge networks, though. It only works well if you're talking to something on the edge network. Say, for example, in America, something within the same state as you. The problem with that is scalability. The more people who start using that service, the slower it gets unless they put more money into it.
I want you to think about it like my argument here is it'd be a lot like, imagine you could get half, or you could pay essentially half for your phone bill, but instead of using your phone to communicate, you would be using somebody else's, you'd be calling somebody else's phone and they'd put you on speakerphone and call the other person. You would have, there's a lot more latency between, one system of interaction versus two.
So I think what you're talking about is latency for your inputs to the output of whatever the server is.
Yes, essentially. And it's not noticeable on a scale where like you're playing very casual games like RPGs, but on an FPS, it is just inconceivable. Nobody could play League of Legends like that.
We get the lag problem that you're talking about for input output, but what I'm trying to talk about is the actual
comparing competitive gaming.
We're trying to like discuss, right, is the actual frame rates that you're getting from the video game. So if you, for example, Destiny, right, there's already a cloud platform out by NVIDIA. It's like the Shield or whatever it's called. And the amount of terabytes of data that if you were to play for 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day on Destiny, and that's an old ass game, right? But it's really pretty, has a bunch of lights and all that crap. But the actual data that's streaming to you, right, is like terabytes. So it is a problem of actual data caps, actual data speed, and not so much as the input-output interaction with your controller and stuff, because that'll all come in a big package deal with the actual throughput of the data that's coming through with the game.
But
the thing is that when you guys are comparing.
The problem is that somebody is watching Netflix. It costs a lot of data instead of downloading the data, right? So if you need to stream the data constantly, it just eats away your internet. And if you have like 5 people, 2 people, 3 people in your house playing that game, your internet is going to be very shitty.
Yes.
Okay, but
No,
technology
it shouldn't be.
is
It shouldn't be. It's not the amount of data per second. It's the duration. I've got a question for US folk. Do you still have network data caps over there? Europe
in some cases,
abolished
yes.
those.
Can I say something
basically
about
the
this?
answer is
Because I
no.
work in IT as well. Is
Because
that
the
hold on one
UK
sec. In the U.S., that is their own side to their customers. Market is just so closed off, and it's honestly monopolized by a lot of